Deal is this. I'll tell you, when I was a kid, that read Dropper Anton Wilson, all this real. I'll tell you, when I was a kid, that read Dropper Anton Wilson, all this real. Dude, I'm pissed. Dude, I'm pissed. Come on. What? Okay, by the time we finish this, you're all going to be practicing magicians.
I'm Jeremy Greer.
And I'm Gary Butterfield.
And this is Days of Future Cast, the podcast where Gary and I are going issue by issue through Grant Morrison's new X-Men run. We're currently in the middle. Xavier's mansion is being attacked by Shi'ar space folk, and we're having a great time, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we are. We're having fun. The X-Men, not so much.
No. I just thinking about the quality of flu that they're having makes me sad in this.
Yes, absolutely. Like with nano sentinels in your body and also space superheroes coming after you, then yeah, it's not a good situation for anybody.
Call in sick.
Call in sick, sure.
Yeah. How are you doing today, Jeremy?
I'm well. I'm good. Things are good. Yeah, just in general, having a great day. So,
living a relatively hydrated and fiber-rich lifestyle.
I mean, seems like a real casual way to ask a very invasive question, but yeah, I mean, I guess we could talk about my dietary needs and experiences
and outputs.
Yeah, you want to have a quick tight five on some pooping? See how it's going?
It's going pretty good for me, actually.
Oh, word! I did not expect that. Usually, when you talk about your poop, it's all bad. So
yeah, well, it's no good. No news is good news.
Are you saying you haven't pooped since Christmas? Is that what because that's bad news. Poop is the one case where some news is usually pretty good. Like you want
some news is good.
You want a good amount of news at least once a day. Is what I've heard.
Like you want to have your news be firm but not too firm for the rest of your life. I'm actually it's going pretty good in that respect. I'm still been dealing with my stomach garbage, but that aspect of stomach garbage not so bad.
Good deal.
Yeah. And something I just noticed.
Okay.
The cover of this issue.
Mm-hmm. Can
you explain to me Beak's arms during this?
Yeah, I think his shoulders, not shoulders, are his elbows double jointed as if they were birds? Like, is that part of his mutation? Like,
it's gotta be, right?
Because otherwise, this makes no sense. And like, because his arms are, if you would shove if you were doing the Naruto run, Gary, do you need me to explain that, or are you up to date?
Oh no, I'm familiar with the Naruto run.
But also,
I know everything about Naruto.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's got a headband.
Who's his mom?
John.
Whoa, John the mom.
No.
I don't know anything about Naruto besides how to say Naruto because I got corrected one time. Yeah, his arms are all bent to hell and back, so presumably he's just double jointed.
Yeah. With the ultimate mutant. Yeah, and as we last episode, basically it was a shit going bad episode. The Super Guardians came down. Fucked up the X-Men that are on Earth. However, Zorn and Cyclops escaped as the Space X-Men. That is where we're going to join you, where Leandra, still being controlled by Cassandra Nova, riding around in nude Xavier, is going around telling the Empire to commit war. And it seemed, it's really kind of a minor detail that characters talk about, but again, the failing of the art in these issues. There's a big view screen where they're destroying a planet.
Yeah.
So we're supposed to just the idea is he's making them make moral atrocities as well because, Cassandra Nova is sadistic. But it's like, boy, the fact that they're going through and raising other planets we've never heard of that we never know anything about is pretty understated.
Yeah, and I'm curious if it's ever dealt with later in this run. Like we'll see the X-Men giving some sort of relief effort towards the Shi'ar.
Yeah.
But like we don't ever talk about, as far as I know, like the Shi'ar don't like, do they go and rebuild their empire? And like, are people really cool with them again? Like,
Yeah.
no, dog, like we put our ultimate trust in you and you were supposed to be infallible. And then you got taken over by a weird creature from Earth and destroyed everything. Like, you don't get to be the Empress anymore. So
one of the, as far as I know, so like the next major thing that happened with the Shi'ar after this, as far as I know, is the Ed Brubaker X-Men stuff that deals with Vulcan, which is a couple years later. That does deal with like Shi'ar politics and stuff, but I don't remember it being really about this. And the weird secret about that is like Ed Brubaker is a great comic writer. All of the stuff with Vulcan is the most boring shit that's ever happened to the X-Men. Like there's this weird, 2006 era X-Men stuff that is surprisingly boring.
interesting.
And I think, I mean, not everybody thinks so, but I think all the stuff with Vulcan, like the original like Deadly Genesis is a cool story.
Yeah.
And all the stuff with Vulcan coming back from space and everything I am not particularly into. I think the character's really boring.
Oh, I have, speaking of Deadly Genesis reminded me of this. I finished House of X, Powers of X, or 10. House of 10, Powers of 10, or whatever. So they had the entire thing, like all 500 something pages on sale for $10 on Amazon. So I was just like, that seems like a no brainer to me. And I bought it and it tied into my Comixology app or whatever. It was extremely inventive. I liked a lot of it. I feel like I need like an idiot's guide to Hoxpox to like I need a YouTube lore. I need Vadi Vidya's version to explain what the fuck happened, which I'm sure exists. Like I'm not to be Mr. Recommendation guy, but Paul O'Brien, who's the guy who does one half of the comic podcast I listen to, who used to run the X Axis, which is a review site, has been doing annotations. Oh, interesting. Okay,
of all those, which is probably exactly what you need.
Yeah. Because it was, especially like we got to the end and I thought like that was the point where it was about to kick off. And then I was like, wait a minute, is there a volume 2 that I'm missing? What's happening here? Like, yeah, it just turned into like all of the alternate covers. Like that had 50 pages left in the thing. And I was like, surely there's going to like finish the story. So I feel like I missed a whole lot out of it. But yeah, it was it was a fun read. I can't believe I'm coming out of that and thinking to myself like, wow, that version of Moira is really fucking great. Like that's maybe my favorite part of the whole thing. So
yeah. Yeah, anyway, I'm looking forward to reading it. I'm not on Comixology. I'm on Marvel Unlimited. Yeah. It's not on there yet.
Sure. Yeah. So the Empress is killing everybody. Yeah, and her like sage, her advisor, is like not really just now figuring out like all of this shit is broken. Like this, and something's deadly wrong with Lilandra when G-Type shows up with the bad news that Cyclops got away, and Cassandra Nova is extremely mad about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so is Lilandra. Like, you reek of shame, perfect night. And she's telling G-Type, like, destroy my sage, destroy my advisor. He's got the mind rot or whatever. And Cassandra Nova's starting to freak out. Cassandra Nova's like, it's really interesting. She says, Charles's immune protectors.
Yeah.
Like the idea, her conception is still in the womb, and she considers the X-Men to be like white blood cells.
Exactly.
Yeah. Which is pretty interesting. But they're kind of going back and forth there. G-Type kills or hurts the Sage because he's going to be fine. Mm-hmm. And then Zorn starts fucking up G-Type. This is where G-Type's face starts melting. And we get some kind of shitty Igor Cordy action as Cyclops busts in and says, "Hey, it's those pesky X-Men."
Really like that line. And then Cassandra Nova tells Lilandra to kill herself. And it like tells her to do that, and also like the passing insult of like, "Oh yeah, you were hopeless in bed." Like, Cassandra Nova, were you?
Yeah, come on. Like, yeah,
do we really need that? Like, did the X-Men need more sexual assault stories? Everybody, do we not?
No, this is I bet you this joke would not happen now.
It feels like it's played for a laugh, like and it definitely is one of those like writer things that I think that people do without realizing, like, oh, like you just set up a whole implication there that's really shitty and sucky for anybody that's just enjoying this comic that also has had experience with sexual assault. Like, that's just real shitty.
Well, the idea, like, mind control is, a sexual assault thing, like sex under mind control, but since it's so fictional, since there's no real mind control, it's hard, I think, for people to conceptualize. I think people categorize it into the safe fiction category as opposed to the, like, actually related to anything in the real world category. And they're wrong to do so. I'm not saying that's the correct way, but I think that's why you run into this shit.
Yeah.
Or the same thing with trickery, right? Like, that's why, like, the Revenge of the Nerds thing where he cunnilingus is the the cheerleader, and the cheerleader thinks it's her boyfriend, and it's like, oh yeah, that's sex assault, like that's horrible. But it's played for as like fiction because it's like using a disguise. He's dressed up as Darth Vader or whatever, you know.
Why would you let Darth Vader go down on you? It's a terrible idea.
It's probably not so bad at it.
You think?
He's actually probably horrible at it. Actually, like, I mean, and he was Anakin. Fuck, man.
He doesn't seem like
a whiny little.
He doesn't seem like a giver. You know what I'm saying?
No. He like, I never really put it together, but he's like, unless your whole thing is being force choked, like you are not going to enjoy sex with Darth Vader. Yeah, that's what a god, Darth Vader. What a virgin. I need to stop using that as an insult. I keep seeing it in a meme, and it's just funny to me. But I need to stop because I don't actually have any hatred in my heart for virgins. It's great. I'm not that guy, but I just keep seeing memes about it, and it's infected my brain. So I need to divest that of my vocabulary.
Did I tell you I got tricked into liking YouTube merch that way?
Oh, really?
Yeah, we walked out of the theater from seeing Star Wars, ironically, and there was a teen with his family, and he was wearing a sweatshirt, and Autumn pointed it out, and it said the guy's sweatshirt in like a state college font said "Virginity Rocks," and I was like, well, that's really funny, and I made a tweet something like the best part of Star Wars was this kid's sweatshirt, and then a friend of mine was like, actually. Like, I just did some research because I thought this was funny, and it turns out it's some shitty YouTube like merchandise. And I was like, oh, geez, great, cool, never mind. I'm just gonna delete all of these tweets and my brain cells. So thank you, appreciate that.
Yeah, never. I don't like being tricked into liking things.
I don't like that, especially YouTube merch. Get away from me. Yeah, please.
YouTube merch. There's I was watching. There's a YouTuber who I like called Northern Lion. And he does a series where he's like, let's look at, and he just like plays an hour a game for a little bit just to check out and see what it is. And on the background, he's eating breakfast. And he's playing this Masocore platformer that was really annoying, where it was like a scientist who was taunting the protagonist who kept like having all these quips. Mm-hmm. And he's like, this is a YouTuber. I guarantee this is a YouTuber. They got a YouTuber for this voice. And then in the comments, it's like, oh yeah, it's Egoraptor. And it's so fucking annoying.
Of course.
Like, and it was just very funny. Like the idea, like, oh, it's got that YouTuber stink.
Jesus.
It's a real thing.
But anyway, let's get back to the comic. Or we could go down this rabbit hole all day.
For a little while, just complaining about YouTube. So in addition to, talking about how Lilandra is hopeless in bed, she's piloting Lilandra to kill herself. Like, goodbye, I don't need you. And she's like, goodbye, I want to die now. And she jumps off a stairwell, and Zorn saves her. Mm-hmm. Which is makes sense. And then Cassandra Nova starts trying to work her self-esteem games on Cyclops.
Yes.
Like, what if I send you to your black bug room forever? Would you like that?
And starts talking about like your wife Jean, and she hates the weakness and timidity and restraint in you, and like you can see thought bubbles starting to appear around Scott's head of like this self-doubt and this worry and this like guilt, trapped frustrations. The woman you love puts chains of expectation, like all of this kind of stuff. But Scott out loud isn't responding to this and doesn't seem to respond to it. Like it's almost like he's segmenting that off, and it's just like, oh wait. Now I kind of see how you work. You don't have a body. You're just pure emotional energy. So okay, now we can maybe figure this out.
Yeah, so the reason the depression whammy wasn't working on him, he decides she leaves. She's like, hey, kill yourself. Time to do it. And he doesn't. He's just like, yeah, she's wearing Professor Xavier's body as like a shield. I can't hurt him. Zorn says like, listen, Scott, we've got Lilandra. But the space station is about to kill itself. We got to go. And then we cut to the outside where a big explosion happens.
Yes. I love the concept of a space station killing itself, by the way.
Very cool. Totally. Like, and that being how Zorn conceives of it is really fun.
So we cut back over to Xavier Mansion, where Angel and the Stepford Cuckoos are enacting their resistance plan, which involves Angel stealing into what looks like Xavier's room, Xavier's office or something, to retrieve a specific sample that's labeled. I think they say it here, right? That it's a Cassandra Nova sample. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this, the relationship between the Cuckoos and Angel is great. They're teasing her. She's like, "Oh, this is your 10th try." She gets in and she's like, "Yeah, first day I was here, I broke into this place looking for drugs." And just trying to like seem like a hard ass. And forgetting that she's talking to super psychics.
Yeah, 5 psychics are currently in your head. You shouldn't lie.
Yeah, they see right through her. we come back, and instead of finding, or she does find the sample. She's trying to find a Cassandra Nova sample, which we'll find out soon, but also finds Beak. This is where Beak is recovering. So I guess it's not Professor Xavier's office. I do not know where this is.
Yeah.
Seems like it'd be Beast's office.
I don't know why
I thought that was underground.
Yeah, if you look back on that first page, she's going into the office, and then there's like a stairwell going down. Yeah.
God, it's so bad.
It's so, like,
the blocking is so bad.
Because I guess this is a part of the wall that opened as if it was a door, and there's also like a slime on this. I don't really know what's happening with this thing. This is weird.
There is some slime hanging from the secret passage that we don't get to see get opened.
So
horrible.
Weird.
Just horrible. Like, we make fun of Cordy's faces. This is really the part that's the worst, though.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes, I think we've talked about his blocking being good before, and sometimes it is. It is not good here. This is some of his worst work.
But yes, she finds the sample, and she also finds Beak, who is still in like a tub.
Recovery tub.
I don't understand. Like, Hank, what are you doing? Why are you keeping this child naked in this tank?
He was floating in the naked tank before, when Jean Grey came and talked to him and found out that it was Charles who heard him. So it was like, it's like a medical suspension tank, as the thing I'm guessing. And maybe, when he woke up, he could hit the little nurse call sign, but no one's answering it because of X-Men emergencies.
Yes.
Regardless of which, I love Beak in these issues, like good dialogue in this, where he's like, I'm totally naked and self-conscious and crazy in the head. I deserve pants as a basic human right. Like, just a lot of full frontal male nudity in these issues.
And I love Angel's response is like, I'm setting this freak loose just for the hell of it. Like, let's just see what kind of trouble we can get into with this guy.
Yeah. The beginning of their relationship.
So we all reunite on the Resistance, and like all of you were right. All of Beat's dialogue here is really, really great. He's just like, it's you don't have anything to say. You don't have anything important to say. He's like, it's very important for me to process the trauma of my life these last few days.
It's like, you said there was an army. This is an army that can go to war in one taxi cab. And then later, they talk about the Cassandra Nova and how scary she is, and he's like, yeah, I bet she'd kill herself if she had to spend 5 minutes as me. Like, it's good teenage energy. Like, It feels authentic teen to me in a good way. So but he has an idea.
Yeah, he has an idea, and it involves the Cuckoo basically taking over the stuff and making him release Emma Frost from the weird helmet. So,
yep. Which they do. Emma Frost loses the helmet, and the kids, it's pretty cool. Like, the actual, again, one of the themes of this is like the X-Men old ways are not the best ways. Like, the kids know what's best. The kids are right, which is a Grant Morrison thing. The kids are the one who come up with this whole plan, which is really clever, which we'll get to next issue.
Yes. They
show Emma Frost the Cassandra Nova DNA capsule, and she's just like, I'm very proud of you.
Very nice moment there.
Yeah.
We go back over to Jean Grey, who's hiding with the humans and the Super Guardians, or whatever the fuck they're called, in the Xavier Vault. We get a brief refresher on that. Oh, hey, like we're all super sick, and Gladiator here confirms it. He has microvision. He can see the little tiny helmeted sentinels in their bloodstream. 10 billion active machines in your bloodstream.
Horrible.
Yes.
And during this, kind of something that, again, we knew from a couple issues ago, but we haven't had a check in a little bit, is that Professor Xavier is on the clock, living inside Cassandra Nova's body. Like, the body is dying rapidly. Beast has been working on a way to fix her. And it's a micro-sentinel inoculation.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea being that, like, and it uses this UMen technology. It's basically just like nonsense science speak. But he's like, hey, Professor Xavier's mind is in there. Let's fix Cassandra Nova's body. And Jean Grey is talking about how she can kind of see, the 4D chess or whatever that Cassandra Nova has been planning, and she stops him.
Yeah.
Basically that's exactly what she wanted. She knew that she would, she's playing so far in her head. She damaged her self-esteem because she knew that would cause you to have something to prove, because she can see right through you. She knows you and knows that you would spend days fixing this thing and trying to fix her body to save Charles. So when she comes back, she could jump right back in.
Which is, like, devious as fuck, right? Like, that's crazy. Because in the very first issue of this series, of this run, we see Cassandra Nova, like, giving herself an injection of something, which we later found out are all of the horrible mind degenerative diseases. And now, like, however many issues later is the serious payoff for, like, that, trick within a trick, basically. Like, that's insane. Like, that kind of planning.
Yeah. It's real good villainy.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Hank obviously like fights back on this a little bit, and he's like, no, look, you were tearing yourself apart with your telepathy. I've seen you push yourself to the brink time and time again. And she's like, no, you don't understand. I've been doing that not to fight Cassandra Nova, but to save Charles Xavier. And her plan is basically to evacuate Charles's mind out of Cassandra Nova's body and into her own mind, which even for Jean Grey seems excessive.
Yeah, pretty optimistic. But they decide not to save Cassandra Nova's body. The Cassandra Nova lands on the roof, like they all feel it, and Hank is taking everyone to the danger room to save them. And this is some good Hank stuff. Just understated sense of humor. Like if it's any consolation, she only kills mutants.
and yeah, like I like was he's shepherding people into that room. They're like, there's some people here that aren't going to stand idly by and just let this woman kill children. And Hank is like, yeah, that's human. This is not a human problem. Like this is not anywhere close to. This is only mutant laws are really going to be able to do us any good. And at the end of this, he sees Trish, his ex.
Yep. And she is pretty impressed by him. Like you've been really commanding. Like you've shown a lot of leadership during this. And she starts kind of trying to backpedal on the breakup. Like I overreacted. I'm sorry I hurt you. And he basically rejects her. I appreciate that we had some time. You remember all the great times listening to music. You dancing naked and falling in the shrubbery, but I'm not interested in a human relationship right now. In fact, I might be gay. Later, this is something Scott is like, you're not gay. Like, what are you doing? And he's just like, he's like, I may as well be. Like, he's fucking with her.
Yeah.
Like it took me a little while to understand this little bit, but he's being ironic. Like he's doing this, and this is, probably pretty problematic to say you're gay to hurt somebody's feelings.
Yeah.
But that's what he's doing. He's in a way, like, this is, as much as it's not necessarily the most like correct thing to do here, it is something that is understandable, like trying to hurt her back, and
also like I'm going through so many changes that I might as well be gay, right? Like
it doesn't, again, it's part of the theming of this, of like giving up these human constructs, the idea that mutants are more different than they've ever actually been portrayed in this, and have their own culture and have their own values and stuff. They talk about mutant laws. We're going to get to an issue where they talk about like there's no word for monster in any mutant dictionary. This is the part of the theming of Grant Morrison's thing. What he was trying to do was like take mutant and really, really double down on it as an identity in this. And sometimes that butts up against some kind of problematic shit. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it is interesting because it feels like that is probably what would happen in the real world. Like there would be people assimilating mutant culture and mutant fashion. There would be mutant fashion because of course there would be. Like you have any group of people and they live in a different place. They collaborate with each other. They're treated in a specific way by society that leads to certain outcomes, that are not necessarily just going to be standard. It's the same way that there is any culture for, there's culture for any kind of race or any kind of, minority. There would be, if this were real, there would be a culture for it.
Sure.
And that's what he's kind of trying to get into, I think.
And I think the bigger problem with a line like this is the fact that there was no gay representation in the X-Men at this time, right? Like, or if there was, it was few and far between and extremely implied more than made explicit. And because it was a couple of years after this that like Bobby Drake is revealed to be gay, or is
quite a few.
Yeah.
Like actually, like almost like many years. Like it's like 15 years. Or something like that. Like this is North Star is carrying the entire
yeah. And so like just seeing like this line in a throwaway context, especially as it's almost immediately retconned later, it's kind of like a thumb into the eye of any LGBT person who likes the X-Men, I would imagine. Like,
totally.
Thanks for making me the analogy here. I really appreciate that.
Yes.
Right? Like
it kind of sucks. Like it sucks to weaponize real people's identity to make this mean joke. It sucks of Hank to do it. It is something. It was one of those things that like follows in the fiction, but that doesn't necessarily mean like the fiction's also not real. Like someone wrote it.
Yeah.
Like Hank McCoy is what we make him. What Grant Morrison made him. It's not like he really exists. So it feels true, but also he didn't have to be this way. There are other. It's a failure of imagination to say like this is the only way you could accomplish the same effect. So it's kind of shitty, and it's frustrating that X-Men, for what they were, took so long to do really any LGBTQ stuff. It kind of just like wasn't a thing up until North Star, which was a huge, PR thing, but is not a very well developed character. He's a minor character of a minor book, and that was it for a very long time.
It's just we talked about this when we had a casual conversation about the Avengers Endgame of like they touted like, oh, we're gonna have our first gay character, and it was an unnamed character for 2 or 3 seconds in the beginning of that movie.
Yeah.
And Marvel is doing the same thing now. They're like, oh, we're gonna have a transgender role in future future MCU movies, and like I can't read that with any kind of excitement until you like give them a name and give them a movie. Like I don't want to see like random trans person exploded on the side and used to fuel some cishet dude's anger at the fucking Hydra or whatever. Like I just don't trust Marvel with any of this stuff, especially when this is their history.
And with that thing too, it's interesting because they never actually said that it was going to be a trans character. Like that was this weird mistranslation of a press conference where somebody was talking about LGBTQ characters, and there's a character in the Eternals movie who is gay, and he was saying yes to that, but then it got picked up on and turned into a Twitter moment about being a trans character, which was never the question or the answer, right? Like if you actually watch the thing, so it's really frustrating because they're probably like, again, I'm not trying to take Disney's side. They're going to get in tons of trouble for like backpedaling on that when that was never what they said they were going to do. And it's just like this weird, coming around on this idea that like Twitter is a horrible way to disseminate information or anything, and that like getting this kind of grapevine information about that stuff is horrible.
Yeah.
And just does not lead to very clear communication. They were talking, he was referring to a gay character, not a trans character. So they're not that far along, but not saying that they shouldn't have a trans character. But that wasn't, they're not backpedaling. They're just making progress slower than they absolutely should. And it was a whole big to-do.
Especially for like a company that creates fictional worlds. Like, what are you guys doing? Like you can create anything. Like you have all of the rules and the power at your disposal.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. There's no reason to do this. It is frustrating the way that like, culture is slow with this shit, right? Like it's stupid that Black Panther took that long.
Yeah, 100%.
It's just like, it's cool, it's really good, but like, fuck, man. Like, what century is this? I also think it's crazy, just going back to the book, is that Hank McCoy said he's going to install one of his favorite R-rated chill-out sequences.
Yeah.
Which is fireworks. If you look, it's just fireworks.
Well, I mean, you can't really see it, but some of the fireworks are shaped like nipples. So that's instant R rating. Yeah, there's 2 of them that form 2 different fucks. So you have automatically moves you past PG-13.
They just form gamer words in the sky. So this is
like
solidoid
R-rated sequence. Like if it's implying like sexy time, so like. Is it a Basic Instinct type thing? Are we talking about like Skinamax movies? Or are we talking like, or just a Quentin Tarantino movie? Like, which one is it going to be? Like,
a super tense violent movie. Is it R-rated? Like, Hereditary? Like,
oh god,
you'll chill out once you're in here.
Why is the one scene on the road on the highway on loop? I think, please get me out of this room.
Like we're all in the back of the car.
I can't look away.
Big theater seats, and then just like the row in front of you is the girl. And
oh Jesus! The simulation just puts it in front of me, no matter where I look.
God, just imagining the Hereditary theme park ride. That's like a VR ride,
Jesus.
Where you're all in the car in the back seat. God, it's so queasy and horrible.
So from there we go into the front lawn, where the Super Guardians are basically joining up, and they're going to defend the Xavier Institute from Cassandra Nova, and specifically tells Logan like, "Oh yeah, we're not going to need your help. Like I am more than capable of taking this to task. It won't be any problem." And Smasher is damaged and as hurt as he is. Like I'm definitely have to fight. Star Colossus is there. He still doesn't have any lines in case anybody was still standing. Yeah. And then we go to Jean, who is with the help of Cerebro, basically telling Charles to like let go and die, and she's going to catch him.
Catch his thoughts. I love that. Die, Charles. I'm going to catch you.
Yeah, super.
It's a great little line.
And of course, like Phoenix flames start coming off of her when she does this because she's channeling some Phoenix stuff.
Yep, it's taking big power for that. Cut over, and Jean Grey is kind of this meld now. It has Professor Xavier's brain inside her. I understand it's time. You're all fine students. Like she's referring to them as students because she's got 2 minds in her brain at the same time, and that's horrible and scary. All of her face holes are bleeding.
Mm-hmm.
And she's basically saying Cassandra Nova is here. We cut over to up above where Cassandra Nova is just destroying the Guardians, and that's the end of that issue.
Yep. And that's the where we're going to stop this episode. And if you guys enjoyed it, you can check out the Patreon at patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv. Donate a couple of bucks helps us continue to do cool shows like this. Thank you if you are already doing that, and if you're not, consider doing so. And if you can't, we completely understand. Maybe you can tell your friends about the shows. I like a lot of shows on the network. I listen to Everything Guppy all the time, every time it comes out.
I'm glad.
Maybe you guys should
Can I tell
check
you
that out.
A piece of Everything to Guppy trivia?
Uh-oh.
Which I'm sure we'll talk about. But Will's mom is in town, and we thought,
oh no,
like Will texted me, he's like, "Hey, should we try to get her on the show?" And I was like, I seriously have to think about that.
Yeah.
And then he said she shot it down.
Yeah.
So it took that. I was very relieved that took the decision out of my hand, because it might have been amazing, but I don't know that I could be like, I think I would turn into like, "Hey, Mrs. Hughes," like, just like very polite, because it's an older woman and it's Will's mom.
Sure.
And I would not be able to be uninhibited. So it might end up being a weird set of episodes.
Yeah.
Which would be good. I would, but
it's the same reason I'd like, I had a couple of like teenagers asked to get on Don't Give Up Skeleton a couple of times. And I'm like, like I would need to talk to your parents. Like, I hate to be that dude, but like, I'm not going to interview a 13-year-old over the internet. Like
totally.
that without like speaking to somebody that is in charge of you. Yeah. Chris's dad is into Supernatural. Like they used to watch it together and everything. And so we've joked a couple of times about getting, and his name is ironically Gary. So we talked about getting Gary on the show a couple of times, and Chris is like, yeah, but he still doesn't know who the characters are. Like, it would just be a disaster. Like, it wouldn't be as funny as anybody thinks. Like, okay, cool. Anyway,
I had one of my friends. He has a son who's like 5, and he's gotten really obsessed with the video game Inside, which is really weird, but he is. And he called me, and they had him call me, and he's like bad at the phone, and he had to call like 4 times, so I thought it was an emergency. But he called, and he's like, have you podcasted about Inside? And I was like, oh yeah, like we did a Check It Out Comrade about it. And then you could hear his mom like, and then he goes, Gary, is your podcast child friendly?
Oh no.
And I was like, no, buddy, but I'll come over to your house and talk to you about Inside.
Why are they letting him play Inside? Jesus.
Dude, I'm really so he's obsessed with it. He's not playing it. They don't have it, but he went over to a family member's house and they were playing Inside. And he's like going nuts for it. It's really fascinating to see. Like,
it's crazy.
It's like, yeah, it's pretty, it's not like it's Call of Duty or something, but pretty adult themes in Inside.
I follow a Mario Maker streamer, and every once in a while, someone in the chat will be like, "Hey, my 3-year-old daughter loves you. Like, would you mind shouting her out?" And he's like, "Hey, Caitlin, your parents definitely shouldn't be letting you watch me because I say the word fuck a lot. It's definitely not a child-safe stream, everybody."
Anywho,
yes.
Thanks everybody, and we will be back.
Yep. See you in a couple of days. Good night.